Okay, no. Come back that force. Come back that now!
Looks like we might finally get some answers about why the Dramillion never showed up in the How to Train Your Dragon movies, and how they could actually be introduced in a possible fourth film. Rumor has it that might really be happening, and with all the recent buzz around the live-action How to Train Your Dragon remake, which totally wowed everyone at CinemaCon, with people calling it visually stunning and a gorgeous reimagining, it's not just about the remake anymore. All that excitement might just be fueling talk of a fourth movie too. So here's everything we know so far about what's going on with How to Train Your Dragon 4. As we know, sooner or later, all this whispering about a fourth How to Train Your Dragon movie is probably going to turn into confirmed news. I mean, come on, if DreamWorks really wanted to leave the franchise buried for good, would they have bothered making a whole live-action remake? Probably not. They know there's still so much love for this world, and fans are hungry for more stories, especially now that the original trilogy wrapped things up in such a satisfying but emotional way. Now let's get into the real fun part, how the fourth movie could actually bring in new dragons we haven't seen in the films yet. And I'm not just talking about background dragons flapping around in a crowd shot, I mean big, powerful, game-changing dragons. Some of them could even be villains or at least start out as dangerous wildcards. Like, imagine a dragon so wild and fierce that it doesn't care about humans or other dragons. That's where the Skril comes in. The Skril is honestly one of the coolest, most mysterious dragons in the franchise. This thing doesn't play around. It's aggressive, it's smart, and it basically flies around hunting lightning storms just so it can store electricity to weaponize later. Yeah, it's like if a thunderstorm had wings and an attitude. Skrils don't just blast lightning bolts, they can shield themselves with electric barriers, travel by riding lightning, and even go into hibernation inside ice until the next storm rolls in. Talk about dramatic. They're not exactly known for being tame either. If you tick one off, it'll hunt you down to the ends of the earth. That's the kind of energy a fourth film could seriously use, like an untamable force that maybe, just maybe, could be convinced to protect Berk, if the stakes are high enough. Oh, and fun fact, the Skril is also the only dragon known to really mess with Singe-tails because its electricity can cancel out their fire. Now that's a dynamic waiting to be explored. Speaking of Singe-tails, these dragons are so underrated. They show up mostly in the Race to the Edge series and a few other side stories, but not much in the main trilogy, which is wild because they're some of the fiercest dragons out there. With their smoky tails and wild flame attacks from their mouths, tails, and even underbellies, they're basically aerial flamethrowers. Plus, they've got those crazy 360-degree eyes, which makes it pretty much impossible to sneak up on them. Add in their teamwork mentally and ability to call for backup, and you've got a dragon that's both deadly and strategic. Now imagine this, the fourth movie opens with Hiccup away from Berk. Maybe he's off exploring a new land or working on uniting dragon-human relations elsewhere. Back home, something dark starts moving in. Death songs. Yep, those deceptively pretty singing dragons that literally trap other dragons in amber. They're beautiful, but absolutely terrifying. Their siren song is nearly impossible to resist unless you're one of the few dragons with bad hearing, shout out to Stormfly, and once you're stuck in their amber, good luck getting out. A group of death songs could be a serious threat to Berk, especially if they come in numbers. They don't need brute strength to win, they just lure dragons away with their lullaby and trap them, leaving the village defenseless. With Hiccup gone and the OG dragon riders off doing their own thing, who's left to save the day? The next generation. This could be the perfect setup for new characters, maybe Hiccup and Astrid's kids, or a whole new crew of young dragon trainers. They'd have to find and bond with dragons strong enough to face the death songs, which is where the Skril and Singe-tail come in. The two very different dragons, one wild and electric, the other fiery and territorial, but both powerful enough to stand a chance. The challenge would be actually taming them, especially the Skril. That could be the heart of the story, earning the trust of dragons that don't trust anyone. Plus, seeing Skril and Singe-tail team up would be so visually cool. Lightning and fire in one epic battle? Yes, please. And it makes total sense too. The Skril could counter the Death Song's hypnotic abilities with raw power and speed, while the Singe-tail's aerial skills and fire attacks could help free dragons trapped in amber. It'll be a whole new kind of dragon fight, different from anything we've seen before in the trilogy. Not to mention, this setup gives space for the next generation to step out of Hiccup's shadow. The original trio, Hiccup, Astrid, and Toothless, can still be part of the world, but they don't need to be the main focus anymore. Let the new kids shine. Let them build their own dragon bonds, face their own challenges, and earn their place in Berk's history. So yeah, between the live-action remake sparking new interest and all these amazing dragons still waiting in the wings, a fourth How to Train Your Dragon movie doesn't just sound possible, it sounds awesome. Give us Skril, give us Singed Tail, bring on the death songs, and let the next chapter of this dragon world take flight. If DreamWorks decides to go ahead with How to Train Your Dragon 4, then they really need to bring Dean DeBlois back into the mix, because without him, the movie just wouldn't feel the same. He wasn't just some random director on the project, he co-directed the first movie with Chris Sanders and co-wrote the script with Sanders and Will Davies. But it's important to remember that for both the second and third films, DeBlois took full control, writing and directing them solo. And honestly, his vision is a big part why the trilogy is so beloved. These weren't just fun animated movies, they were heartfelt, visually stunning, and emotionally rich fantasy adventures that defined a whole generation of fans. So if a fourth movie happens without DeBlois involved, it's pretty likely the tone and quality will shift, and not for the better. The franchise has a solid reputation, and messing with a formula that made it work could easily hurt that. It's kind of like when a band changes its lead singer. Sure, the music might still be okay, but it's just not the same vibe anymore. Now here's the tricky part. DeBlois has said in the past that he didn't really want to make a fourth movie. Back in 2014, during an interview with Collider, he mentioned that he had pretty much convinced Jeffrey Katzenberg, DreamWorks' co-founder, that a trilogy was the way to go. He said he wanted the story to have a strong sense of purpose, something that felt complete in 3 parts. So at that point, he wasn't looking to stretch it out any further. There might still be room for spin-offs, sure, but as far as he was concerned, Hiccup and Toothless' journey had come to a natural, satisfying end. But hey, that was a while ago, and people changed their minds. So even though he wasn't interested back then, there's always a chance he might be open to revisiting the franchise if the story feels right, especially if it means expanding the world in a new direction, like with different characters or dragons, while still keeping that emotional core fans connect with. Bottom line, if DreamWorks wants to make a fourth How to Train Your Dragon film, they've got to be really careful. Without DeBlois, it might end up just being a cash grab instead of the next great chapter, and that would be a shame for a series that has always flown high with heart and purpose. And that's what we have to say about the fourth movie. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.